Howdy guys. Alright, in this video I'm going to talk about living in a van. How hard is it? Could the average person do it? What are some considerations to figure out whether it's the right thing for you? And when I started doing this, I've been doing it for 6 months now, and when I started doing this, I had a lot of questions that I really couldn't find satisfactory answers for, and I realized that ultimately the best way to find out if it's right for you is to try it. I will tell you that for me, it's fine, and I think the majority of people could do it. Will Burson a couple weeks ago made a video where he talked about people being pink, crunchy, and crusty, and that was a brilliant description because he nailed it. If you're a kind of person who has to have like 2 showers a day and is kind of like a clean freak and is grossed out easily and maybe is which might be say high maintenance person where you have to have everything a certain way all the time and you get your feathers ruffled easily, living in a van is probably not for you. It takes a certain person, and Will would call that person like a pink person. You know, those girls that look perfect nails, perfect hair, smell awesome. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying that they're just a different kind of a person. And then there's certain people that are what Will would say is are more like crunchy. I don't know if that's the term I would pick myself, but it's applicable. Someone who's like, you know, if you're living in a van, you're going to have to deal with urine, not just being flushed in the toilet, unless you're in a really nice Class B with a flush toilet and a holding tank and all that. To me, that's not really an economical way of doing things. Because up here, to empty your black tank is going to cost $15, and unless you're actually living at the RV park or staying there, they're going to charge you. There's no freebies. And in Vancouver, there's hardly any places to do it. Which means really you have to go and physically empty a tank of urine yourself, which is gross. I've already talked about that in my video of the 10 worst things. That was my number 1 worst thing. So yeah, that's gross. And some people don't want to deal with that. And if you're one of those people, living in a van is not for you. Some other things, if you're really sensitive to noise, or if you're a person who likes to feel secure at all times and not, like living in a van, somebody can knock on your van window in the middle of the night and say, hey, what the hell are you doing in there? Get out of here. Parked in front of my house. Well, I would never park in front of someone's house. I would only park in front of apartment buildings. But nevertheless, if you're on private property, say if you're in a public place where there's like a mall or something where there's security guards, they might tell you to move along. And if you have an easygoing attitude, it's like, okay, I'll move along, no big deal. See you later. You're going to be much happier, but if you get your feathers ruffled easily and are all upset about that, then living in a van is probably not for you. Big part of the van life is dealing with social implications. And I haven't told that many people. I haven't told anybody at work except for 2 people that I trust. But people that I do tell, I usually only tell them if I'm not really too concerned about their reaction. For example, people that I play music with, they say, hey, where do you live? And I say, oh, actually I live in a van. And most of the time musicians are more acceptable. I guess they're, you might say, crunchier kind of people. And they're like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting. And they think about it for a second, then they ask you the typical questions. How do you take a shower? Where do you go to the bathroom? Where do you get your mail? All that stuff. But a lot of the times, it's fine. I haven't really gotten any really strong negative reactions. I've got from a couple people that I was like, really? You're doing that? But usually if I'm going to tell someone, it's because I don't really care about their reaction. So there's the whole social part of it. You got to be ready for people. I want online on this web site, Cheap RV Living, once. I talked about the social implications and stuff, and this guy, I forget his name, he made a really good point. He said you have to be willing to accept the worst case scenario. If you are not happy with the worst case scenario, then you need to get your head around that or don't do it. And he's absolutely right. You have to be willing to accept the worst possible thing that could happen. If someone's going to turn your nose at you, if you're single looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend, living in a van is going to put a little wrinkle in that, I can tell you. Unless you're looking for a particular kind of person who's more open-minded to that. And then some people say, hey, that's a good thing because you can weed out the people that are judgmental or are going to have a problem with you living your life on your terms. And find the people that are cool with it and understand the adventure and the intelligence of it, of saving money and stuff like that. Now, if I was rich, would I live in a van? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't because if I had lots of money, it depends on your situation. For me, I'm 100% in the city, and it makes it more difficult. If I was traveling and going from town to town and state to state or province to province, that would be a different story. But I would only really do that if I had the financial ability to do so. And living in a city in a van in the same area is not easy, really, in some ways. So if I had lots of money, I wouldn't do it. The main reason I'm doing it is to save money. Rent in Vancouver is average $800 to $1,000 a month, and I don't really want to pay it. Basically, my choices were, since I have to pay child support, which I will say I'm happy to do. I have no problem doing it. I do think it's my duty to do it. But my options were to live in a van, live with roommates. I did that in my early 20s. I don't want to do that anymore. Lots of issues with that. Or getting a second job. I already work full time, and I didn't really want to get a second job. It's still an option. I still think about it. I could probably get a job working once or twice a week for 4 hours a night. It wouldn't kill me. But I'm just basically in the experimental stage, seeing what works financially, and a lot of different things I'm experimenting with. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic. So, is living in a van right for you? The best way to find out is to try it. A couple things I would definitely recommend. Number one, absolute important thing, is to make sure you have a large amount of money set aside as an emergency fund. Because if you just are carefree and easygoing, which is a good thing, but carefree and easygoing to a point, and if you don't have an emergency fund and you're traveling the country or you're out and about and your van is not where you parked it, someone stole it, or you get into a major car accident, you're homeless, and that is not a good situation to have to be in. So I recommend definitely having a large amount of money. I'm thinking a minimum of $3,000. $10,000, awesome. But $3,000, you could buy a van that's not a total piece of crap and replace your essentials. So that's one consideration. So you gotta, if the van life is right for you, you gotta make sure you have enough money to start with in the first place. Otherwise, you could be homeless. And I don't want anybody to have to endure that. What's another thing to think about? So, we had these categories: pink, crunchy, and crusty. The crusty ones are basically people that are really hardcore backpackers who basically couch surf or to the very far extreme. They're basically living on the street, and it takes a certain kind of person to do that. And that's not me. I know who I am enough to know that I don't want to be living on a couch or living in a tent on the street or in a park or whatever. So I'm not willing to go that far. Another thing to consider, whether living in a van is right for you, is you have to be a bit tough in terms of climate. If you want it to be room temperature at all times, it's not going to happen. Last night my propane tank ran out of propane, and I woke up about 4 in the morning quite cold. It was like 1 or 2 Celsius out, and that was cold. But you know what? I understood the situation. I ran out of propane. My heater is off. So I just put on my extra sleeping bag that I had beside my bed, and I went back to sleep. Some people, they would get very upset about that. The hardest part of that situation is getting up out of bed, and like when I got out of bed, first thing I have to do is go to the bathroom. Well, I'm not going to put my pants on and then take them off again and go to the bathroom. So which essentially means I'm sitting in my underwear and a t-shirt, and where it's 1 or 2 Celsius, going to the bathroom for how long that takes, 2-3 minutes. Not comfortable. Some people can say, yeah, no big deal. Other people will say, that ain't for me. And if it ain't for you, the van life isn't for you. I'm going through a yellow light. So that's another thing to think about. Other things are, if you have a lot of money, you can buy a big expensive fridge that will run off solar, and you could do that fine. I don't know if I could do it in Vancouver, to be honest, because it's so rainy and cloudy here all the time. I'm not sure a fridge would work. That's an experiment to look into maybe in a couple of years, but right now I'm fine. But if you like to cook big meals and you want a fridge with lots of fresh food, that's one of the challenges of living in a van, is you're not going to have that. Unless you have a nice Class B with a dual burner stove and fridge and all that, sure, it's doable. But when I'm saying living in a van, I'm saying the main reason is to save money. And if you want to save money, you're not going to have a $500 RV fridge and all the things that goes along with that, the fresh food and everything. What I do is I basically buy my food every day. I go to the produce mart or whatever, and I buy some broccoli and some fresh vegetables and some fresh fruit. Bananas and apples and oranges and stuff is fine. You can keep it at room temperature, it's no big deal. But I won't buy things that aren't going to last. I just buy enough for 1 or 2 days, and that's it. So that's another aspect of it. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to keep going on and on about this, but I will say that there's some people who can live in a van. There's some people would find it quite uncomfortable. For me personally, the positives far outweigh the negatives. I'm saving lots of money. I don't have to deal with roommates. I don't have to work an extra 20, 30, 40 hours a week. It really comes down to there are some inconveniences living in a van that you have to kind of get over, and if you can get over those, it's fine, and I recommend it. Why pay money for rent if you don't have to? You can take that money and achieve a goal of maybe going on a trip. You can save up the money to go on a vacation somewhere. You can save up the money to buy something, like, you know, if you remember Don Carpenter's videos, his thing was he saved up a bunch of money and he bought a brand new car, paid for it in cash. That's cool. That's his thing. Go for it. For me, I'm not really in a position to do that because all my money is going to child support. All my extra money that I would pay for paying for a mortgage is paying for child support. So it kind of leaves me in that situation for the next at least 10 years. So, but that's okay. I'm okay with it. It's my choice to get divorced. Nobody, I don't want the squeegee thing happening. The guy's trying to rush my window. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you have yourself a great night. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. And I will try to get to it when I have some time. Take care and have a good one.